we're really glad you're here. I heard last there were over 400 people registered for this webinar, so thank you for tuning in. We know you have a lot of ways you could spend your time, and we really appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us today. So really excited to introduce you to Valencia, or V, as I affectionately call her. That's her nickname. So Valencia is an awesome inside sales agent with the Davis team, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a minute and tell you some of her numbers, because sometimes it helps to know the track record, right, of the person you're listening to. But the reason I invited V onto this webinar today is I actually video in with her and watch her lead generate and provide feedback for her. And one thing I've noticed that she really stands out for is she just does not give up. She is a fierce closer. The thing is, she's very personable as she does it. So that's why I wanted to invite her on today's webinar. We're going to talk through mindset of closing. And when we say closing, we mean asking for the appointment. So we're going to talk about the mindset behind closing. What are some of the specific ways to close, and what are some ways to make it fun? Actually, V has a great way to make it fun. So before we go further, V, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about where you're from, how long you've been with the team, and any track record numbers you'd like to share with us today.
Of course. Oh, thank you for the introduction. Drum roll, please. My name is Valencia, and I am with the Davis team, as Anna said, and we are in Dallas, Texas, and we service all Dallas, Fort Worth. I know, whoop, whoop. Anybody else in Texas? Hello. Our team last year closed 187 units, and 30 of those were new construction, and we are about 55% with the sellers, and 45% of those were buyers. Our GCI is about 1.25 million, and we closed in volume was $48.4 million. Our Davis team, I know, small, like whoop.
Yeah.
I've been with the Davis team since 2015, and when I joined, we only had 45 closings. So that's like a huge difference from where we are now to where we started. And when I joined the team, there was no ISA. It was just, here's a phone book, V, and a phone charger. Good luck. And I had no clue what I was doing or start, but we shadowed the Loken group in Houston, and then we adapted their ISA model, and then we've been banging ever since. This year, we're on pace to close 220 units.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So, and I love how you said when you started, it was just kind of figuring it out as you go. And I hope that encourages a lot of you. So actually type in the chat box what your role is, because we frequently have agents here. Sometimes we have mostly ISAs. It just kind of depends on the webinar. But what I know from coaching ISAs is often they're the first one. And they're like, it's a mess, you know, it's not put together. I don't really have someone that did this before me, and I'm kind of pioneering it. So I hope that V's story there encourages you. Because how long ago did you start? Say that one more time.
I started in 2015.
Yeah, so just 4.5, 5 years ago. And
Right.
Look at the total difference that is now occurring on the team. So yay, awesome.
A huge difference.
Yes. So type in what your role is, just so we know the audience. And then the other thing is we want to customize this webinar today for you guys. It's not for us, it's for you guys out there listening. So if you have, let me ask an open-ended question. Feel free, or I guess it's more of a directive, right? Feel free to type in what questions you guys have around closing for the appointment, types of closes, anything related to not giving up and closing for the appointment and not being weird about it. Go ahead and type that into the chat box. So while we're waiting, V, let's go ahead and one thing that I love about you is your mindset. And I know in preparation for this call, I asked you, what are some of the key factors that you have that allow you to just not give up easily? Because you just hang in there and you just don't give up. So what's the mindset behind that before we get into the actual techniques of it for you?
Yeah, for me, explaining the why not is harder than getting the why. My why is really huge. I have 2 children. I call them my duckies. And it is hard. It's so hard for me to go and tell them why not than it is to be on the phone with some random person and get their business. So talking to a complete stranger, finding their motivation, figuring out what makes them tick and makes them move emotionally is easier than me having to look at a 3-year-old and they ask, well, why not, mommy? Why can't we have a new house? Why can't, we go on this vacation that you told us we were going on to? Why can't I do basketball this year? And I have a son who's 7 and a daughter who just turned 4. And so skipping that why not conversation with them is like a dream when I can just handle it with some random stranger and take the brunt of the conversation with them instead of having to go face my duckies and explain the why not. And I hope that makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense. And I love how you worded that, because I'll speak for myself anyway. And I think a lot of you can probably resonate with this. It's sometimes easy when we're at the phone or at our desk or cubicle, whatever it is. And we can disconnect that from whatever's going on at home or outside of the workplace, right? But really, we're working for all the stuff that's also outside the workplace. So if you can tie, would I rather not make this phone call right now, or would I rather give up, or would I rather have to tell someone at home a way that I didn't follow through and now we don't have the money to do the thing? That's huge. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What is your why? And if you say, I don't really know what my reason is for working, I'm working to figure that out, type that in too. It's just for us. I'd love to see, where are you guys as our audience in your mindset of your why? So V, question for you. A lot of people say I'm motivated, yet they have a hard time keeping it in front of them, so to speak. So when they're at work, it does get disconnected. So how do you keep it front and center every day that you don't forget your motivation?
Of course. We do a vision board every year as a team, and I actually took a picture of it, shrunk it down, and it's on my desk. I don't want to move my whole setup to show you. Any vision board that I keep right, like literally between my screens, I can see it. And one of my favorite bold laws is focus on the plan, not the problem. And so having both of those in my face at all times and remembering the goals I have set by seeing visually keeps me on track with why I'm doing what I'm doing, and to stay not only motivated, but stay moving in that motivation. Because your goals never care how tired you are. They just want you to show up and to show out daily.
Yeah. Do you guys see why I have her? This is awesome. This is like pump up motivation right here. So also something interesting you said was that it's on your desk, and it's taking me back to, I know when I was still making phone calls, I coach full time now. However, when I still made the sales calls for years, like from 2006 to 2013, a long time. Don't ask how old I am. Don't do the math. Don't worry about it. But I know my phone was, right here and right in front of my phone. So it's like when I looked at my phone, I also saw a picture of, for me, a huge motivator was my mom and helping to take care of her when she was sick. And so it was, if I looked at the phone, I was also looking at the motivation right there. I couldn't separate it. So great advice. Okay, so then we had some questions about motivation in the chat box. Not personal motivation, but finding out a client's motivation. And that is part of closing for an appointment and not being weird. So everybody that's listening right now, where it gets weird is when it feels like it's about us. The way to not make it weird that you're asking for the appointment is make it about the client's goal, okay? It's not about us and setting an appointment. It's about helping this person move towards their goal. So V, for you, when you're on the phone with someone and they just said hello, how do you transition into getting their motivation? Share some of your techniques for that.
Well, I always thank them for taking the call. Just a quality call opener. No one can be mad at you when you're showing gratitude. I mean, if they are, something seriously wrong with them. So just thanking them for taking the call and spending time with you at that moment. And then, of course, asking open-ended questions. Tons of open-ended questions. And one of my favorites is tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Just leave it and let them talk, and always wait for them to answer the question. It may be a little awkward, just the silence lingering, but sit in that awkward and they'll feel it. They'll start talking about, why they don't want to do something or what's really going on. Just tell me more about that. It's so simple. Those 3 words can open up so much from a client.
Absolutely. And to take it a little further, that concept of thanks for taking my call or expressing gratitude, by the way, guys, it makes it harder for them to hang up on you because you just express gratitude. So how rude am I if I now hang up on you and you just thanked me for taking your call? And then one of my favorite motivation questions to add to that is just acknowledging moving is a significant amount of hard work. What makes you want to move? And that's a great way to open up that conversation. And then, hey, tell me more about that, to V's point. What you want to do, guys, is ask at least 3 questions that are open-ended about their motivation. Even if you say 3 times, tell me more about that. That's fine. But the part of what helps close for an appointment is when you go to close, being able to say something like, all right, V, the next step for you to be able to have a bigger home to house your 3 kids and your growing family to help you be closer to their school, closer to your work, so you have more family time. The next step for that to happen is for us to meet for an appointment, or for you to meet with Jordan for an appointment, whoever you're setting that up for. So that helps prevent it from feeling salesy, right? We're talking about them and their goal, not meet with me so I can sell you something. Make sense?
Right.
Anything to add to that?
No, I agree with you 100%. And just to link it into what you said earlier about your phone and your positioning of your vision and your motivation, keeping it in front of the face makes you move. And the same way we need to bring back up that motivation in the conversation. Oh yeah, I do want to come and do that. So let me do what I need, the steps I need to take in order for me to be successful in what I want.
Nice tie-in. I'm impressed. By the way, guys, this is V's first webinar like this. She's taught before at market centers. This is her first webinar. Whoa. And I'm super impressed that you just thought of that on the fly. Nice tie-in. Well done.
Thanks.
All right. So we've talked about digging for motivation. We're not going to spend more time on that now because we've done lots of webinars on that. And you can find that at isamapscoaching.com and then click on the webinars tab. And if you search, you'll find all kinds of webinars on how to dig for motivation. So we'll move on from that. But I saw a question in the chat box of what's your favorite closing line? And I'm going to tell you more of a mindset, and then I'll let V fill in some favorite closing lines. And I also want you to talk about your 3 options in just a second. But I'll give you guys a hack that I found really helped with closing. So we know through research that in order for someone to set an appointment with you, you have to ask for the appointment 7 to 13 times on that phone call. It used to be 5 to 7, and they redid research, and now it's 7 to 13. So take note. And I remember when I heard that, feeling sick to my stomach, thinking, seriously, I have to say 7 times, let's meet. Will you meet? When's good for you? And I just pictured that being super obnoxious. So what I realized is there's all kinds of closes. One of my favorites is the assumptive close. And so let me explain this. If I have in my head, V is going to like me and she's going to meet with our team, it's a fact. Even if she's not giving me those signs yet, but I just have decided she's meeting with me. She's going to love us. It's going to be great. Now it's going to be much easier for me to give closes because it will sound something like, V, you are going to love working with Jordan. She's fantastic. That's a close. Mm-hmm. When we meet, that's a close. Oh yeah. Once we sell your house, that's a close. You'll be able to partake in our client appreciation events. That's another close. So when you have in your head, this person's going to like me, they're going to work with me, they're going to meet with us, all of a sudden closes will just start coming out much more naturally. So a close does not have to be when is better for you, 2 or 3 o'clock. That's one way to close. But the assumptive close is something you can absolutely use, and a lot of people forget that. So I wanted to put that top of mind. So V, what are some of your favorite methods to close? And then after that, I'll have you share your 3, what are the 3 things that could happen? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. One of my favorite ones is giving them a forced option is what I call it. So it's similar to what day and time works best, this or that, but it's how soon are you wanting to move to Nebraska? How soon can we meet this week to get your dream home up and running? Or you want to get pre-qualified first before we start looking at homes. So what time works best for the lender to call you today?
Yeah. Well, like I call you today.
Today. Yeah. Forces them to pick like immediately. You don't have the option of, I'm not sure, none of that wavering, like kind of up and down, not sure. It makes them choose what time, what day, when.
Yeah. Well, something I want to point out about what V just did is it's more what she didn't do. It's, wouldn't it make sense for a lender to call you today? That sounds unsure, right? Yeah. It's, wouldn't it make sense to have a lender call you today? So that exudes confidence. And what we find is when you speak with confidence, you make your voice go down at the end, almost like you're saying a statement, even though it's a question. You're making it go down like a statement. That actually can remove obstacles. Because I think we can all agree, if we're talking to someone who sounds confident, that can actually quiet the questions in our head. Because it seems like they know what they're talking about. So that's actually one way you can help move people towards an appointment is just be directive. Is when it makes sense to call a lender today or to have a lender call you today versus your voice going up. Cool. A couple other closes, and I I got this list. I did not make it up. I got this from the Keller Williams Ignite class. Session 3 is all about how to basically sales, lead generation techniques, things like that. And so in that third class of the Ignite class at Keller Williams, they give out this handout. So there's a hard close, and that would be let's meet. That's considered a hard close. The assumptive close, that's my favorite one. Again, that's the one where you just are assuming we're meeting, so you say things like that. Another one would be the tie down close. So I'll read it off. Wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? Well, yeah, right? That's a tie down close. The alternative choice close. What works better, today or tomorrow? That's called alternative choice. So there's a lot of different types of closes. Actually, after this webinar, what I'll do, you can go to the Facebook group, ISA Mastermind Group. I think a lot of you are probably in there already. That's how we know each other. But go to ISA Mastermind Group, and I will post the document that has types of closes. And that way you can print it out, stick it in your workspace, and have it handy. Cool. Okay, V, something else that I really like is you've shared with me that you have in your head, there's only 3 things that could happen on this call. So talk through that. I think it's really great.
Yeah, there's, like Anna said, only 3 things every call that can happen. They're going to set an appointment. They may yell at you, or they might just hang up. What's the worst that can happen? You get hung up on. It's not the first time that's happened. I mean, we're all grown. We've all been yelled at some point in our life. It'll be okay.
Like by our parents growing up. Yeah.
Exactly. By coaches if you play sports. So it's okay. Pick up the phone and dial. What's the worst that can happen? You set an appointment or you get hung up on.
Yeah.
And one of the things we like to do most here in our little bullpen is we play bingo. And
I love this. This
is my bingo sheet from today. As you can see, my name and the date is on it. And I did not do as of a good a job. I still have some blanks out there. But some of the things on the bingo, it says I set an appointment, nailed the star pattern. I was placed on hold. My favorite one is I got hung up on today, guys.
Woo!
Yeah, I got hung up on. I have not been cussed out today, so I do have some blank boxes.
So she has a square. I've seen this thing, and I'll put, by the way, I'll put this also in the ISA Mastermind group on Facebook. So as soon as we're done, I'll post the closes and her bingo thing. She shared that with me to give to you guys. So thank you. But I love it. I laugh every time I look at it, and it's hilarious because there's a square that's like, I just got cussed out. So it's a way to make it fun. Like these are things that we face in our everyday job, right? So if you can lighten it up and make it not such a big deal, there's a big difference between hanging up, like, oh man, I just got hung up on, to, all right, I can fill out a bingo square. I love that you made that. So it's awesome.
And I agree. Someone posted that when they get hung up on, they'll call them right back. I do the very same thing. And I say, oh, Anna, I'm sorry about the connection here. We got disconnected. I was saying, and then I just keep going like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. I was shadowing an agent on Tuesday, actually, and they had that happen. And they were kind of like, oh, man. So I was like, well, call them back. Maybe it was just a bad connection. And so they called them back. And to his surprise, it was legit just a bad connection. And the lady apologized and they continued on. So watch what you're telling yourself in your head. Mm-hmm. You know, we're talking about how to close on this webinar, but notice we've talked about your mindset on motivation, your mindset around they're going to work with me, they're going to like me. And then now the mindset around, okay, what's the worst that could happen? And even having fun with some of the things that happen when we're on the phone. Guys, I think it's comical for most of us. And actually, I'd love to see, type in your box, the chat box there, how many appointments do you need to set per day to be successful? Like you're driving home and you're like, man, today was fantastic. So for a lot of people, it's 2. Average, it depends on your financial goals, but that seems to be about average. 1 before lunch, 1 after lunch. And if you think about it, it's kind of hilarious, right? We work 8 hours a day and I only need 2 people to say yes to me in a whole day. And I've had an awesome day. It's kind of hilarious when you think about it. And so anything you can do to normalize, people are going to hang up on me sometimes. And some people are going to say no to the appointment and I'll reword asking for it. It can help you have a lot more fun in your role. So I'll post the bingo board and the types of closes. Perfect. So awesome. It looks like there's a lot of 2s. I see some 4s. Awesome. It looks like 2, 10 a week. Yeah. And it's going to depend on your financial goals. Okay. V, how did you get good at this? Like, there's probably some people here, we struggle with comparison in today's world, right? Social media, we always look at everybody else's shiny life and we compare. And I have a feeling there's probably people in this webinar looking at you thinking, man, she really seems like she has it together. I don't know that I'm ever going to get to that, right? Which is mindset. So how did you start improving with your skill set, your mindset? Give us some practical things you did.
Yeah, of course. And don't look at the iceberg. There's always so much more under the surface. And practice does help tremendously. So listening to the questions, rewording them is open-ended questions. Practicing your scripts. Actors practice all day long to win an Oscar. So just practicing, internalizing those scripts, getting with others, like-minded, other ISAs to do role play. And my biggest thing is a coach. So all of the high performers, high producers in any industry all have a coach, someone that can see their blind spots and see the bird's eye view to help them understand and think outside of themselves. So if you aren't coaching with someone, if you aren't spending time masterminding or script practicing with somebody, grab somebody. There are a whole lot of great coaches. Shameless plug, I have the best coach ever, Anna Krueger. She is awesome. So whether it's Anna or someone else, please grab a coach to help yourself. And as far as mindset, my affirmations, it's like a path in the woods. Anna and I talked about that last week. It's just going the same way over and over. It lays the ground down and it kind of cements the path in your brain of, I'm awesome. They're going to be happy to talk with me. They're excited to work with my team. Just affirmation and affirming yourself, using the same affirmation day in and day out for 2 weeks is permanent in your brain. So I wake up and I know that I'm awesome and I'm a rock star and I will set my goals and hit them. So just those affirmations daily.
Yeah. Can you see why when you walk in with that mindset of I'm awesome, I'm going to hit my goals today, I'm going to get it done. Now, if someone says no to you, it's not so rattling, right? Because you're walking in not in a fragile place. You're walking in confident. You're walking in bold. I know the value I have to offer. And so, you know, if they don't see it today, that's okay. I'll work them again tomorrow. I want to say something too about the mindset she just shared, the path in the woods thing, because some people were probably like, path in the woods, what? So I'll share real quick. So we were talking about affirmations, and I had a realization lately where a lot of us will do an affirmation, which is, I like to call it a truth statement, and you can get them from anywhere. You can use a Bible verse. You could use a quote that you love from one of your favorite books or create a statement. But a lot of people tend to do affirmations where they have a different one each day. So maybe today it's, all right, I'm going to set my 2 appointments today. It feels amazing. And then tomorrow it might be, all right, you know, today I'm going to hit goal. And then the next day it might be, they're going to love me. They're going to work with me. And all that's great. But here's the thing is if you have a pattern of negative thinking, and we all struggle with that, right? If it's not about work, it's about yourself or something, right? We all have patterns of negative thinking, or you're not human. Welcome to the human race. And it's like a path in the woods. So if we all went hiking right now, we would probably find a path in the woods that's not an official road. It's not paved. Yet because people have repeatedly walked in a certain spot, there's a path there now. And that's how our brain is. We have things called neural pathways. I don't get all like sciencey here. I love this stuff. But we have what's called neural pathways, and they literally are like pathways in our brain. And the more that you think something, it's like walking on that path. So if you think every day, I'm never going to change, I'm never going to change, I'm never going to change, you're just further cementing, I'm never going to change. And the only way to make lasting change in the way that you think is to start with a new thought and walk a new path. So if I go to the woods and I say, you know what, I'm not going to walk on this hiking trail anymore. In fact, I'm going to block it off. No one's allowed to walk on it anymore. Nobody's walking on this path. And we're all going to establish a new path over here off to the right. And everybody just walk that path every day. We're going to start wearing it down. Eventually, the old path is going to become overgrown and we're going to develop a new path. And that's how affirmations work. So more powerful than a different affirmation every day is to come up with a statement that's really powerful to you and then repeat it over and over and over and over and over. And where V was just saying, usually if you do that for 2 weeks, you're starting to get that path created. If you've had a negative thought for a long time, it might take you way longer, right? It could take months, but you'll get way more power from the same thing over and over versus a different affirmation on all different days. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Okay, so anything else you want to add, V, to how to close. And then before we're done, I'll give you guys some resources and where to go if you are looking for a coach. So V, anything else to add on how to close?
Confidently, no matter what you say or how you say it, do it with confidence. So it seems so simple and so like, man, that's elementary, but that's the biggest thing. Having that confidence and having that it's gonna work, it's gonna happen mindset, and being sure in what you're saying and your presentation, you can get anybody to say yes. Believe me, anybody will say yes if you deliver it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to hit these 2 questions in the chat box. We have a question that says, I work in a luxury market and they don't have to sell. I need help moving them to an appointment. So with that, I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask that are one pattern. Okay, so these 3 questions go together. Don't separate them out. So the first question I would recommend that you ask is, on a scale of 0 to 10, what is your motivation level to move? And ideally, you're throwing their actual motivation in there. So I might say, hey, Valerie, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to sell your home in Beverly Hills so that you can move closer to your family in Colorado? So the more you can put their motivation in there, the better. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you is the first question. The second question is, what makes it that number? And the reason you're asking that is it'll give you a clue into their thinking. So if they say, I'm a 5 because I don't know where I'm going next, okay, we need to find them where to go next. That's going to bump up their motivation. They might say, I'm a 5 because I don't really have to sell. And, you know, unless I got $1 million for the house, it's just not worth it to me. Okay, well, at least we know, right? And then your third question is, what would have to happen for it to be a 10? So number 1, just in case you missed it, scale 0 to 10, what number are you in motivation? Number 2, what makes it that number? And then number 3, what would have to happen for it to be a 10? And that I believe will help you, Valerie, in uncovering motivation and then finding out how do I bump them towards getting to the appointment. Someone else also said, it looks like Mary Jo. Hey, Mary Jo. How many calls a week are ISA making to set 10 a week? I can answer that unless V, you're just dying to answer that one. No? Okay, I'll get it. So honestly, it depends. So every lead source is different. If I'm calling expireds, I can probably set 1 appointment for every 10 contacts. But if I'm calling a neighborhood through circle calling, I'm going to need about 100 contacts to set 1. So honestly, Mary Jo, that's just going to depend on what lead sources you're working. There's no standard. What matters is that you're tracking so that you know for you, right? So ideally, everyone on this call, and if you don't know, call me, let's talk coaching, okay? And if not with me, I can find someone for you. So I'm connected in the coach network. But that's where we can help figure out, okay, each one of you should know, I need 23 contacts to set 1, or I need 17 to set 1. Multiply that out, and now you know. So if you need 17 contacts to set an appointment, then you need 170, and you'll set 10.
And conversion rate plays a part in it also. Like just as an ISA, what is your conversion percentage?
Yeah. So, and we really would be remiss if we didn't share resources. It's like knowing of a fantastic restaurant and then not telling anyone about it so they can't enjoy it. And I really, truly am passionate about coaching and consulting. And so that's how V and I know each other. So there's a couple of resources. One, there's an ISA coaching program through MAPS. And so you can learn more about that at isamapscoaching.com. There's a button that says talk to a coach. And guess what? You come to me. And I might not be the one that coaches you, yet we can talk through your scenario and see what would be the best fit. We also do consulting. So this is something we don't talk about quite as often, but that's actually what V and I do. And we literally video in on Zoom, just like what we're doing now. This actually looks like Thursday morning, doesn't it? The difference is V is making calls and I'm listening, providing immediate feedback. Sometimes we're doing training on language patterns. Sometimes we're working on open-ended questions. It kind of depends on the week, which is why it's different than coaching. Consulting is more training, and it's funny, but it's more, let me tell you what to do, right? Education. And then coaching is more asking questions, mindset, things like that. So just know there's options depending on what you need. And that's where us talking will help us determine, is that more of consulting? Is that more coaching? Maybe it's a group course. Maybe it's finding a script partner, and that's it. So reach out. You can reply to the email that will come out after this webinar or just contact me directly. Yeah, it's in the chat box. You can reach out to me directly, mapscoachanna@gmail.com. Perfect. All right, let's hear a couple takeaways and then we'll close out. Type in, please let us know we accomplished something today. So what did you learn? What are you actually going to implement? And then while we're waiting, V, I have one more question for you. What is your favorite way? Because a lot of people say, I'm not sure how to transition from talking to them about their house or talking to them about motivation. How do I transition into setting the appointment? Like, what's my transition phrase? Or how do I go from one topic to the next in the conversation? So how do you like to navigate that while we're waiting for their ahas to come in?
One of my favorite transition phrases is, let's see what we're going to do about that. Let's see how I can help you. Let's see how we can benefit or how we can work together to accomplish your goal.
Yeah.
So using those, I know this is what you want to do, Anna. Let's see how we can help.
Yeah, I love it. So you're basically saying, here's your motivation. Let's see what we need to do to make it happen. Here, let's see what we can do to help. Perfect. Yes. Awesome. Sounds like a lot of you guys got the takeaway of close 7 to 13 times on a call. By the way, it's hard to know if you're doing that in a live call unless you're tracking it. So V, how could people track or know and just be aware? Did I do it 13 times or did I do it 3 times? Any ideas for that?
Yes. Take a penny. So I have 10 pennies on my desk right now. And as I get a good question, a good open-ended question, I'll grab a penny. And as I'm making the phone call and I have another, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I'll grab me another penny. And at the end of the call, I can say, okay, I used 10 pennies. I did great. Or I only have 2 pennies on that call. What did I miss? What could I have said to make them be more persuaded to do what I want them to do?
Yeah. So you could do tick marks on a sheet of paper. You could slide pennies across your desk, really just some type of visual way to mark off, I just closed. I'll tell you another thing is that could be distracting for some of you. Record your call and check with your state. Every state's different on recording laws. I'm not going to get into all that. So just check with your state, but you can record a call and play it back. And that's actually how I started to see my areas of improvement, because in the call, I felt like I was rocking, I got this, I'm good. And then I'd listen to the call back and realize I didn't close nearly as much as I thought I did. And so recording yourself and then listening to the playback and counting off how many times did I close will really open your eyes and raise your awareness.
Yeah, or you could also use a script that already has the closes built into it, and you follow the script. I tell our new ISAs, just stick to the script. No need to be creative or make it up. Don't go. Yeah. Just stick to the script and everything will work.
Yeah, just have a good script. All right, guys, well, we want to respect your time. We want to tad over because honestly, isn't V awesome? She's easy to talk to. We could probably keep going, but we're going to respect your time. And again, go to the ISA Mastermind group. As soon as I close out this window, I'm going to upload her awesome bingo game, which has her info on it if you have Dallas referrals, wink, wink. And then I will also put in the types of closes, and I'll put a link, I'll put my email address in there so you know how to reach out if you're interested in coaching. All right, guys, we will see you on the next webinar next month. Have a great day.